Temur is the most hyped commander precon from Dragonstorm. Currently, it's extremely difficult to find retailers that have it in stock, and the ones that do are selling it for far more than the other precons. Oh, will you look at that? You can pre-order it at our sponsor, cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish, by the way. This is unsurprising since Temur is the dragon precon, and everybody loves dragons, myself included. I've actually got 2 dragon decks of my own. I have Ganex and Feywild Visitor, and also Perforos dragons too. So that's why I'm extra disappointed to say that Temur kinda sucks. It's a bad precon. So in this video, we're going to break down the deck, explain what's good about it, what's bad about it, and then fix it with a $25 budget. Plus, at the end, I'm going to toss in a $500 list just to show you how a fully upgraded Temur Dragon deck can look like. Alright, let's get the good out of the way first. Temur is a dragon deck, and it does indeed have lots of dragons in it. I count 30 dragons, 2 cards that make dragon tokens, and 2 more cards that turn into dragons. There's also 16 cards that support dragons. So it's going to feel like a dragon deck each time you play it, which is good. The new cards that are exclusive to the precon are all great too. Cards like Thundermane Dragon and Parapet Thrasher are sweet new dragons that not only support the theme of the deck, but their relatively low mana costs help with the mana curve, since most good dragons cost 6 or more mana. Again, well done here, no problem so far. And most importantly, our commander Ureni the Unridden is amazingly powerful, slapping down dragons from our library directly onto the battlefield whenever it attacks or enters, which is huge card advantage and mana advantage rolled into one. Nice stuff, no complaints. And that's all the good aspects of the precon covered. Now, onto the bad stuff. This is a dragon deck, so the most important aspect of the deck is having exciting dragons, and unfortunately, most of the reprint dragons here are filler trash. There's so many forgettable dragons here that are terrible in Commander. Varix Bladewing, Skargan Hellkite, Rapacious Dragon, these have almost no redeeming qualities in Commander, and I don't think that I've ever seen them make the cut in Commander decks before, but they're just here as garbage filler. I think the most egregious one here is Taurian Mauler, which isn't even a real dragon. It literally feels like they tossed it in here to make their dragon quota. There are a few good dragons here too, like Lathliss Dragon Queen, which is a staple in any dragon deck, and Scourge of the Throne, which has extra synergy with our commander, but it's way too little. The ramp package is also very underwhelming. We've got some good stuff you'd expect in a green deck, classics like Farseek and bigger ramp spells to cast our expensive dragons like Encroaching Dragonstorm, but there's some baffling inclusions here too, like Talisman of Creativity and Talisman of Impulse, mediocre mana rocks that don't bring anything extra to the table. And yes, dragon discount cards like Dragonlord Servant and Nogi are flavorful, but you generally only run them in non-green decks since you don't have access to better ramp cards that green typically has, like Rampant Growth, which actually isn't even in the precon. There are some other good reprints worth mentioning here, great staples like Temur Ascendancy, dragon support cards like Dragon Tempest, and in a big stompy deck like this one, Selvala Stampede can give you a game-winning army all by itself. But again, it's too few good cards mixed in a pile of bad stuff. Now, I'm not saying this deck is just like weak and unplayable. I'm sure it can hold its own against the other Dragonstorm precons, mostly because our commander is so powerful that it can kind of carry the weight of the rest of the deck on its shoulders. However, what I am saying is that in a dragon precon, the main appeal of playing the deck is the dragons, and when most of the dragons are really, really bad, it's going to hurt the appeal of actually playing this deck. It's going to hurt the play experience. Now, I know the commander designers at WotC are really good at their job, so I'm not going to speculate what factors led them to running a lot of really bad dragons in the deck, but what I will do is show you how to make this deck way more fun, way more powerful with just $25. Now, the most obvious problem that people come across when trying to build a dragon deck is that a lot of the classic dragon staples are really expensive. Iconic dragons like Terror of the Peaks is $27, and Old Gnawbone is a whopping $51. These cards alone are higher than my entire budget upgrade guide, so we obviously can't use them. But luckily for us, we don't need to use these cards to make a very powerful dragon deck. Some of the best inclusions are actually quite cheap. These are the Adventure Dragons from Baldur's Gate and the new Omen Dragons from Dragonstorm. They give the deck impactful things to do at lower parts of our mana curve with the Adventure or Omen side, while still keeping our dragon count nice and high. Bloomvine Regent can be played as early game ramp, or late game as a dragon that gains us life. Morang River Regent gives us instant speed draw, or is a big body that double bounces. I love this card. Dread Linorm provides protection from targeted removal. Sapphire Dragon is a negate, which is always nice to have. And Sword Coast Serpent is an unsummon. One trap I notice a lot of people fall into when trying to build a dragon deck is they'll see all these sweet dragon cards that cost 6 or more mana and try to jam them all into the same deck, but then their mana curve is borked and they're stuck in the actual game, not doing anything and just casting a single 6-drop dragon every single turn and nothing else. So these dragons that have Adventure and Omen to them, they help fix your mana curve and allow you to do more things more efficiently every single turn. I've also added a bunch of classic top-end dragon upgrades. Furcrag Cunning Instigator is a powerhouse in a dragon deck, mass goading our opponents while growing and drawing cards. Lozan Dragon's Legacy machine guns down opposing creatures. Thrakis the Butcher is a great low-costing finisher. Hellkite Tyrant is just mass artifact theft. It's incredible at slowing down opponents while putting us ahead. Incinerator of the Guilty turns our graveyard that we're not really using anyway into a one-sided board wipe. Drakuseth Maw of Flames as even more removal. Terror of Mount Velis is amazing as a finisher and also works very well with our commander if we flip it with Ureni's attack trigger. And finally, Thunder Dragon is another mini wipe for our opponent's creatures without touching our own because all our dragons fly. Next, let's overhaul the mana base. We're in green, so we may as well ramp with some of the best classic options like Steve, Rampant Growth, and Cultivate. But I've also added mana rocks, the Orb Cycle. Running mana rocks in green sounds crazy, especially ones that cost 3 mana, but all of these offer a ton of utility. The red one is the best. Haste is very important in our deck to maximize the value of our dragons, but the blue one scries, which helps with our commander's trigger, and the green one offers hexproof until our next turn, which is great protection from targeted removal. For better support pieces, I splurged on Smuggler's Surprise, arguably the best pickup in the entire deck. It's mostly used as a budget heroic intervention to protect our expensive creatures, but the other modes also offer card advantage and mana advantage, slapping down dragons at instant speed. I'm also adding 2 more instant speed sweepers. Breath Weapon is a great early game mini wipe to clear the board of small utility creatures or token decks. Magma Quake is another one-sided wipe. Since all our dragons fly, it's a great way to slow down faster decks since dragons are a pretty slow archetype. I've also added 2 flavorful counterspells. Spectral Denial and Dispelling Exhale are both new mana leak variants that work extremely well in the deck. And finally, I put in cards that work specifically great with our commander Ureni. Since Ureni puts dragons directly into play without casting them, Kiora and Garruk's Uprising are both great incremental draws since they are enter the battlefield triggers, and Kiora is even a ramp for us too. Also, since Ureni triggers when it enters, I've added 2 blink spells. Essence Flux, which is the most mana efficient instant speed blink in Temur colors, protecting Ureni from targeted removal, and basically reading pay 1 mana, put a dragon card from your library into play at instant speed. Same shtick with Teferi's Time Twist. It costs 1 more mana, but since Ureni comes back at end step, it could even dodge board wipes. But my favorite tech is adding Last Night together, which works especially well with Ureni. You can attack with Ureni and flip a dragon, then cast Last Night to immediately attack again with Ureni and the flipped dragon for massive damage. And last thing I'm doing is adding 2 extra forests. This bumps the land count to 38, which I think is the bare minimum for this kind of deck. I mean, look at the mana curve on a dragon list and you'll see why. But also I added a bunch of green cards right now, so we need some more green sources. And these are all the cards I'm cutting for them. Not going to go over all the individual cards since I already covered why they are all subpar already. Finally, I've also added a bonus $500 deck list to show you how you can upgrade the deck further. Most of the remaining great dragons are put in here, like Mirim, which can actually go into the command zone and would make the deck stronger if Mirim was actually the commander instead. Baleflare Dragon is really great as one-sided board wipes over and over again. Twin Flame Tyrant, another finisher, all the good stuff. There's also support cards like Dracogenesis to vomit out all the dragons at once and even cast Ureni from the command zone for free, or Displacer Kitten, which is the best blink engine in the entire format and will trigger Ureni like crazy. The mana base got the biggest boost though with fetch lands, shock lands, all the usual stuff. And that, my friends, is how I would upgrade Temur Roar. I know people are going to ask me if the Precon is worth buying in general, and my answer to that is basically, how much do you have to pay to purchase the Precon? And secondly, how many of the cards you already own, especially the upgraded cards you own. If there's enough cards in the stock list that you want, and it's cheaper to buy that than buying the singles instead, then buy the Precon. Otherwise, maybe in this specific case, especially since the Precon is going for like more than double MSRP in most locations, maybe in this case, you might just want to skip the stock list and buy the relevant cards that are already in the Precon and just buy the singles. But it always varies, right? It depends on how much you can buy the singles for and then how much shipping is going to be. I don't know. There's a lot of variables here. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Hopefully this helps you upgrade your deck or just build a Temur Dragon deck from scratch. That's all I got for now. So until next time, friends, see ya.